Hey everyone, welcome back to International Women's Day live on Facebook with Feed Your Brand. And I have Carolyn Rivera. Yay! So
Yay!
some of you may recognize her because this is Mama C from Survivor. We met at an event not that long ago, just a few months ago, and our table mates geeked out because they were like, no way. And so they were talking Survivor, this and that. And I felt a little out of my element because I haven't watched a lot of it. And so I was like, okay, they're so into the culture, but you have a lot of fans worldwide.
Survivor has been on for 18 years. It's the longest running reality TV show of all time. And so there are still about 10 million people religiously that watch every single week. And I'm one of them. I've watched every single episode since the year 2000. So yeah, we kind of geek out like that.
That's right. Well, you have parlayed that into a great radio show, which is podcast as well. And it's the Carolyn Rivera Show. And so that's why we're talking today, because I wanted to highlight great women out there who are podcasting and getting the messages out. But you also have written some books, and Plant Your Flag is your latest book. And guess what I have right here? I have the copy you gave me. Yeah, so there you go. It's awesome. So everyone's got to check it out. And I love that idea because you tied in that idea of that's what the Survivor program is about. You're eventually going to plant your flag, right? And so you tie those two things together in a really great way, and into the 7 secrets for winning. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But welcome to International Women's Day, and thank you for being an amazing woman putting her message out.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's so, I want to thank you for even doing this and even thinking like innovation and thinking about, bringing women together today, because it's interesting. I went to a luncheon today on International Women's Day for women. And honestly, before this year, I didn't even know International Women's Day existed, which is a kind of scary thought. So the fact that, we're finally bringing women together and we're empowering each other to really, work together and help each other is just fabulous. I just love it. So,
well, to tie in that the Survivor thing, I mean, it's a little cutthroat. Like it's each person for themselves, but at the end of the day, you do actually have to learn to work together, and you have to work with people and for people, and there is that sort of dance and organization that you have to build for yourself and how you interact with the world, or you don't win.
You can't make it to the end without building relationships. And you can't win the game ever, even if you make it to the end without building relationships. So it's all about, are you connecting with people? Do people feel like they like you? Or are you, do you have things in common? Are you sharing your feelings with them? So it's really critical. And I talk about, from the jungle to the boardroom, because those same skills are there.
They're exactly the same.
Where you are.
And it was just occurring to me as you were talking about that, because, in a way, when you're on a show like Survivor, what you're doing is you actually are, although many people may not really realize it and consciously understand that that's what you're doing, but you have to get the audience behind you. You have to get your fans behind you, and you have to build that. And so it's a remote thing because you're filming this, and we do the same thing because we record sometimes alone, and you're there with the mic and there's no one else. And that's why I like these Zooms, because at least I'm not alone.
Exactly.
But they're a lot easier to do. But you do that, but you have to really be consciously thinking about that, that breaking that barrier to the audience, or you will not build that relationship. It won't happen. Talk a little bit about how you do that.
It's really just inherent in who you are. Do you care about people? Mm-hmm. It really is something that every person comes to the table with something valuable, a set of skills. And most people look to interact with those people that are exactly like themselves. Because, you're talking to someone, you're like, oh my God, I love them because they're just like me. But
Right.
realistically, when you want to be successful, what you really need to do is fill in those gaps, because everyone is going to have different skill sets that they're going to bring to the table. And as you begin to interact and you find out what that sweet spot is for that individual, you can see that you can just be that much more successful. You can almost do anything at that point because you've kind of covered all the boundaries. So it's really trying to figure out what everyone has as their own value that they bring to the table.
Yeah, that I feel really blessed because in my life, both my parents, my mom and my dad, instilled in me a love of being curious, just of like out there exploring. My mom is a fine artist and she's always learning new techniques and she's always building relationships in the art community. And my dad is a big reader and he believes in this like being curious and diverse thinking. And with diverse thinking comes diverse relationship building. So like meeting new people and trying new things. And I think that part in and of itself actually makes you, exactly what you're saying, interested in others. And when you're more interested in that, wow, it's easy to do what you need to do.
I mean, that's the key. Most people don't like change, and that's kind of the biggest issue, right? We get sucked into our day-to-day lives and it kind of just goes by, but you're not really living life, right? You're just kind of getting through the day. The key is, how do you live each day?
Yeah.
To the fullest? What experience can you give yourself that's new and different? How do you begin to test your mind so that you can begin to look for ways to learn new things?
Right.
And I think once you begin to make that shift in your mindset, then new experiences is what you crave.
Right.
And I think that's what, I mean, Survivor to me was an experience of a lifetime, right? And change was part of everyday vocabulary because you never know what Jeff Probst or CVS has waiting in store for you. But, you kind of can do that same thing in your everyday life and begin to learn and grow every day.
Well, and so everyone, this is how her show goes, by the way. What you're hearing here is like the brilliance of how her show is and what she shares. And she's sharing thoughts about how she's developing leaders in the world. And this is the thing, when we're developing a leadership style, right? And we're developing that, we're also developing people. We're developing the ability to handle change because business isn't static. So you've got a lot on your plate that translates from how you live your life to actually how you help people grow.
I mean, and that's really the key, because it's so rewarding when you see somebody and you know that it finally clicked, right? You're talking, you're training, you're coaching, whatever it is, you're actually just working with people, whether it's, in a classroom of 50 people or in a one-on-one environment. But when you see that light switch go on, I mean, that's the joy that it brings me every single day, because that's what I'm all about. That's how I focus my life and my podcast and the radio show, my training, all of those things all linked together,
right?
To build others, basically.
Well, today's theme is life is balance for better. And I added life and harmony because some of us don't like the term balance. So we've discovered that over the course of the day that other people think like I do, that it's not my favorite word. And so what is it that because you're a mom, you've got lots going on in your life. How do you deal with all of the things that are going on and be successful?
I think it's just, you've got to make the time. Now, that's a big, big challenge, right? Because the only thing that you can't buy more of is time. So you've got your own set day, and you have to, sometimes we get so frustrated with, we're always doing for other people. I think that as mothers, that's inherent in who we are. And I don't even know if you can change that, because that's just the way most people are wired. But I definitely find the time, and it doesn't matter what time it is or when, but I definitely find the time to do things that are going to enrich my mind as well.
Yeah.
And I think that, because you're giving of yourself to everyone all day long, you've got to give yourself just a little bit of time, whether it's going to the gym and working out, whether it's reading, a book on leadership, whether, you're listening to your podcast, which I have done and it is absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
So those are ways in which you continue to learn and grow. And so I just think, it's not really balance. It's just making time for yourself to grow, making time for yourself to have those experiences.
I love that. So one of your things that you mentioned, and you mentioned in the book, and you also, it's a part of your website and a part of what you do and talk about all the time, is that adversity is, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. And,
Right.
You've gone through manufactured adversity, right? They're throwing stuff at you purposefully to, for entertainment value. So that's
Right.
actually you're a glutton for punishment doing that, right? but that is so true. It's a life without adversity. It just doesn't exist, right? You're dead. So it's gone. It's over.
It's impossible.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about how people approach that and how you personally approach that.
Yeah, I think listen, there are challenges, there are obstacles that we face every single day, decision points. It could be minuscule decisions, very small obstacles, or big obstacles that can change your life. It's really the mindset that you have on how you're going to handle those obstacles. What are you going to do? There is probably not one person that can say that they've never faced an obstacle.
Yeah.
But many of us can tell the stories of how we've either let this take over us and we wallow in our sadness, we don't get out of bed, we'll sit there and just whine about, oh, life sucks, everyone's against me. Or you can shift the mindset and say, listen, I'm going to learn from this experience. Yeah, maybe I did make a mistake. Maybe I caused the entire issue. You can learn from it, right? Every single time you learn something new, you're really growing, right? Because you know what it feels like to fail. And you don't want to be there again. So you do everything in your power to make sure it doesn't happen. So I think it's really just what is your mindset? How are you taking on that challenge? And, I always talk about this pole in Survivor. I had to hang on to a pole for an hour. And there were 1-inch grooves on the pole. Now, and mind you, I was the oldest one on the island. So I'm competing against people 30 years younger than me.
Wow.
And so I'm holding on to this pole and it's down to 2 of us. It started with 12 and now we're down to 2. And it's me and this fabulous guy who's like 27 years old. You want to hate him, but you can't because he's fabulous and he's gorgeous and he's just the nicest guy ever. And we're competing for the win. And I took my mind off of the pole for just 1 second and I fell. And I lost the challenge. And I was so upset with myself. But I turned around and I won the next 2 challenges in a row because I shifted gears. I knew exactly why and how I lost my focus and I didn't let it happen again. So I think we all have that opportunity to shift our minds and really take control of any obstacle that we face.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Somebody asked me that too, is how do you deal with these, so-called impossible challenges or, big barriers in front of you? And I said, well, I don't believe in impossible. And I think just actually living in that place where nothing's impossible. And part of it is I'm, really lucky. You've met my husband, Tom, right? You know that.
Fabulous.
Well, he's got an inventive heart. That is he's an inventor at heart. That's always who he's been. And he kind of, through art school, as we grew and we started our businesses and we became inventors together, it really showed me there was nothing that couldn't be innovative around, right? Nothing that couldn't change. And so when you do that, you live in a world of possibility. And so
Exactly.
then it makes you not allowed to look at it as a barrier, because it's just, oh, something to innovate around, right? Something to change.
Exactly. When you think of it, just as you said, as endless possibilities are out there, you just have to find the right one to get you through that obstacle, and then keep moving
Right.
forward.
And I think that's a lot of trust in yourself, which I you do talk on your show quite a bit about that. It's trusting yourself, trusting your ability. Like you just, in that example, you trusted that you could have that like extended focus and you wouldn't do it again. You trust in yourself to do that. And I think that makes a big difference for people.
Yeah, I think I always talk about three things that you have to do. One is believe. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your vision. You have to believe in the people around you. So believe is critical. Believing takes you, that's kind of the thought process. But the second thing is all about commitment, right? So believe, commit. If you don't commit to it, then your vision is just a dream. You're never going to get there. Right? You can't give up just because it's hard, just because there's an obstacle in front. Work around it, figure out the possibilities. And the third one is achieve. Believe, commit, achieve. When you have that mindset, just like you said, of anything's possible, then anything is possible.
That's right. That's right. I love that. I love that. So, you mentioned a little bit on, as we were talking, as I sent you out the email about this, and you put some things in, is like, how do you push yourself out of that comfort zone? And I think that's so when we're talking about that world, is that's where we get into that. We don't like change. What are some ways that you do that every day, that you're always pushing yourself?
I think that you have to be curious. You have to want to look for ways in which to continue to challenge yourself. If you stick to everything that you know, well, I don't know. Life to me can seem pretty monotonous, and it could get boring. I mean, a lot of people, they like their career and they get stuck in their own little world and they're comfortable there. And then they're offered this, opportunity to maybe take on a new role, but they've never done it before. And they're thinking, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? It doesn't take me more than 1 second to say yes. In fact, when I was asked to do a radio show, I was interviewed on somebody else's show. Somebody heard, they contacted me. They're like, well, do you want to host your own radio show? I don't know anything about radio shows or hosting, setting up a mic or anything. Like, what am I going to talk about? How do I build the show? But of course I said yes. So right. I'll figure it out later. I'm sure that the first show is probably not as good as the show that I'm doing now, but you learn and you grow. And so I think that if you have a curious, innovative mindset, it helps you to want to take on new experiences and figure out what's out there.
Yeah, and I think that's so true, is that we too often are like, I don't know, should I do this? And we get caught up in that like, back talk to ourselves, right? You get out of that. So now everyone's going to be able to find you, because I'm going to make sure we have all the links in the post to your show and to your site and everything like that. So we'll make sure that happens. But, talk a little bit about the kind of people you help, because I want to make sure the right people are reaching out to you. Everyone should listen to the show because it's fabulous and it's got lots of things for you at any level. But you like to work with really specific people who are on leadership paths. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So most of my clients are like mid-sized companies that are looking for ways in which to provide development opportunities for their people. And in those instances, I'll go in, I'll do a needs analysis, and I'll figure out, where the gaps are, how can they differentiate themselves from their own competition and create, training programs. Or I'll do one-on-one. I know that coaching is a word that, I don't know, some people like it, some people don't. It depends. But really, I do also work with people one-on-one if they need more support in that realm. And then, associations that are looking, for a speaker to find ways, to motivate or inspire or teach their people how to believe, commit, achieve, how to be comfortable with challenges. What does change look like, and how do you get through it? So I think that's kind of who I work with most.
Wonderful. Well, it wouldn't be International Women's Day if we didn't talk about some women. And so, I'm pleased to have so many amazing women on our platform, and that's why you're featured here. And so excited that we got to sit next to each other at an event and now are working together. I love that. But we have a lot of that happens. You see a lot of that on your Survivor shows and things like that. Women are not nice to each other sometimes. Like, what is with that? I don't understand that. I didn't grow up with that. That is not who I am, but I see it so often. And, how do we stop that?
It's funny that you bring that up, because that is like one of my biggest pet peeves. And one of the things that I talk about on my show all the time is the fact that I've been in the corporate world, in learning and development, working for large companies for 30 years until I started my own company 3.5 years ago. And I faced women not supporting women.
Yeah.
And it literally drives me insane.
Right.
I don't understand why women think that in order for you to be successful, you have to step on the woman in front of you. What they're really missing out on is, if you actually lift up that individual, think about how much farther you can get. Yeah. So and even on the show Survivor, there's maybe been 3 out of 38 seasons, maybe 4 women alliances that take it to the end. It literally drives me insane. So my thought process is, if you can help another woman, do whatever you can do to help them succeed. It's going to come back to you. And if it doesn't, who cares?
That's right.
You could be happy with just seeing how successful they've been able to become because you were able to help them. Yeah. So I think if we all join forces, do the kumbaya together, let's make it happen.
That's right.
I'm with you on it, and I will help to bring that message.
Yeah, I think that if we lead by example, right? That's the best way we can do that. And so I look at it as, I'm not going to get transactional value out of it. It doesn't matter. But if it changes the world for my daughters, like that matters to me. So if it has a lifetime, it takes a lifetime for that change to occur. I don't care. I'm in it to do that because I want the change to happen. And I'm really grateful to my dad, who actually did that as well. As he was reminding me, just as he picked up one of my girls today, that he spoke to his good friend Brenda Green, and his friend Brenda Green worked with him and the company and established at a big engineering and construction company, established a women's mentorship and project management track so that women could get that. And I didn't know it at all until my dad retired, and all these women are at this event telling me how amazing my dad is. And what I realized is he had always said he was doing it for me. He was doing it for his daughters, right? And so I live in that same space. So if we can do it for our daughters, for that next generation of women,
exactly.
Okay, but let's help someone today, because that makes that difference.
Exactly. I've got 2 daughters of my own, so I'm with you on that. And the more we can help every one of them succeed is better. So
absolutely.
It's the youth of today that we have to really focus on, because they're what's going to be tomorrow.
They're our future leaders, as you mentioned.
Future leaders. So let's make them the best we can.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on International Women's Day. I'm so glad to have you as my friend and my partners and one of our clients. And I just absolutely love what you're putting out in the world. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And, listen, I've learned a lot from you in the short time that we've been together. And so I really appreciate everything that you've done and all the things that you're still creating. So thanks again.
Thank you, Carolyn. Appreciate you. Take care.
Take care. Bye.